Hello, I'm Lindsay of Wild Sea Calligraphy, and alongside Manuscript Pen Company, I'm going to show you how to create this lovely little spring in bloom card that you can give as a gift or send a lovely little message during spring. You can also sort of convert it and change it to a lovely Mother's Day card as well. Today I'm going to be using a Oblique pen holder, Leonardt Principal EF Nib, and I'm also using the Aquabrushes from Manuscript Pen Company. This is slightly more advanced than beginners, but I'll try to break it down so that you could give it a try in your own time. The final piece will be written on a lovely plain piece of card. Now, when you're selecting card, you just want to make sure that the ink works on the card. The card is a coated paper stock. If it doesn't, you can spray it with a fixative or some hairspray just to stop the ink from bleeding out onto the stock. I'm also going to be using some guidelines that I've printed off from online. So I'm using a Spencerian guideline. I'm printing them off onto the calligraphy parchment paper, which works really well to print. You can also do it double-sided so you don't have any wastage. And I think for this kind of script and copperplate, it flows really nicely on this style of paper. I'm using the Oblique pen holder because traditionally this is what was used for Spencerian writing. You would use this and not this pen, so not a straight pen holder. You would want an oblique pen holder, and I actually quite like to have one that's got the sort of metallic piece here. The Principal EF Nib, you can use this. You could also use a G Nib, the Leonardt G, if you so wish. Okay, so the first thing to do is there's going to be lots of spirals. You can see here there's lots of spirals, lots of oval spirals, so we'd like to warm up. So you can get a pencil and just warm up from left to right, creating that oval shape. So you can go that way, you can go that way. You can do it all in one piece if you want to, and then we can do it on the angle. So forward and then back. Gets you sort of thinking, maybe some figure of eights, gets your brain going a little bit, and it gets you nicely warmed up. Now this is only a very quick warm up, you want to practice a lot longer than this. So the basic strokes they're going to be doing will be this as an entrance stroke, and again you can use this as a lovely little warm up. So the basic shape you're looking for is this. That's going to be your entrance stroke or lead-in stroke. So then you're going to want to do that as well. So you can practice this with a pencil. It's more like this, okay? You don't want it too curved. So more, and then what's going to happen is your shade is going to come down and look like this. Okay, so think about the S. You're going to want to practice this. So you can do this with a pencil, takes any pressure off until you're completely happy. If this is too much, you can just do that, or this, okay, because that's going to be the shade there, the thick part of the stroke. Now, if you're struggling with these, you can just practice this shape, okay? Turn this around. So what you're looking for when you're doing these sort of flourishes or swirls, go this way, up, down. So we're going to go slowly. Okay, this is even spacing every time, okay? Even spacing through it all. And what I'm doing when I do this, repeat, it's coming down, I'm going to the middle there, okay? Around, even spacing, and through the middle there, okay? Again, back around, and it's creating that oval shape that you can see. There we go, zoomed in. So we're going this way, up, down, and oval. Now you don't have to create this many ovals. You can just do that if you wanted to, okay? I'll do that again for you. Okay, it doesn't have to be loads. This is just really good practice when you're doodling on your notepad at home or in a meeting. You know, you can just practice that. Now, I've got my piece of work printed out. How is this going to look? Where is the lettering going to sit? I'm going to get my pencil, just using a HP pencil. We can practice by tracing. So we go entrance, up, over the oval, down, around, and around again. Then we're going to do our P. So then I'm just going to go up here. So it's cursive essentially. Spencerian, in my mind, I find it easy to pick up because I like cursive. So up, down to there. Okay. Oh, actually, down to there. And then we're going to go R, I, N, over to G, down and out. Now the shapes of the ovals in sort of Spencerian is slightly different from copper plate. Now copper plate is based very much around this shape, you know, lovely oval, and 55 degrees, but Spencerian is 52 degrees. This is a really bad idea. Let's just draw this up here. So 52 degrees, and so it'd be more, your ovals are more like this. Okay, now your oval for your O is that shape, 52, but your oval for your A is more like this, over, down, up. Okay, and then in a copper plate, maybe you'd have your A would look like this. That obviously oval, down, oval, back out, oval. So, you know, these are all oval shapes. But you can see here, a cursive or Spencerian A would be more like over the top, pull that back down again, around, down, and out. And you're looking for this, okay? That's a narrower shape than this. So I'm not going to go into massive detail for this. This is just something for you to just to practice, but just to think about. There are some great Spencerian tutors out there. You've got Michael Sull, you've got Barbara Carzolari, who are phenomenal. So yeah, have a little look. So that's our spring again. So let's write it again. So what you can do is, you know, find some Spencerian guidelines, print them out, and just practice this. So we're going to go entrance, S, bring our entrance or P up, down. So just look at the shape and look at where I'm going above the waistline. Look at these connections. There we go, so that's our spring. Now we're going to do our eye, and our eye is like this. So we start here, go up, over the top, pressure, and you can leave it like that, but we're then going to go around and out. Okay, so pop it here, go entrance, over pressure, release. That's our eye, capital I should say. Our N, and then let's do our B, and I'll just draw the B out for you separately. So our B is this shape, up, bringing it down, and then we're going to go from here, B, pressure, release, and again you can stop there. We're going to go around, thinking about the spacing. Okay, we're going to do it the next row down, so you can see how I'm spacing it out on here. So we go B, up, pressure. It's good to practice with a pencil because you can have the pressure without the worry of the ink. B. I mean, you could keep going bananas with things like this and get really spinny. Just make sure I don't write bananas now. Blue, okay. And just replay this over and over again so you can understand how these are made. Spring in bloom. Now we can add some flourishing. You can keep it this simple, or we can add some flourishing. So we could do a flourish, a simple one that does this. Again here, maybe bring it over if you wanted to. Other flourishes we can do. So practice our G. Bring it around like that. So this again is not simple to do. Bring it around. We're going to make this slightly horizontal actually, whereas this one's coming down. This one wants to go more this way. Down, that way, down, keep it like that. Again. Over flourished G. And again for the M, do something very similar. So up. What you can do is bring this below the baseline, up around that shape. Again, you can just practice this. You can just practice this shape, okay? And you can apply that to anything if you think about all the shapes and everything at the end, maybe even an S. You know, you can have lots of fun things like this. So let's try again. Again, practice this over and over again. You don't have to go straight into the writing, just practice for a couple hours until you're happy with it. Okay, let's write it out again one more time. Spring. I'm going to flourish this. Bring it down this way, over. Going to leave it like that for now. And then we're going to do our I. Over, pressure, round, out, N. And then let's do our B. So again, up, pressure, okay, got a nice little composition there. Really happy with that and how that looks. Now, I'm just going to show you the shapes you need to create when it comes to nib and ink. So, Leonardt Principal EF, this is what I was shown to write with. Okay, so how does it look when we are going to write normally? So, there's very little shade in Spencerian that goes around. Try to go as slow as you can. Okay. Pressure at the bottom. Usually it's always, in my head I always think it's like a triangular shape. So you see you're barely applying any pressure. A little bit there. Slightly in the middle. Okay, so that's how it's going to look. It's a very delicate script. Apart from this bit here, we apply the pressure and dragging it through that baseline. So it's on the baseline. Not my favourite stroke. I'm still personally not the best at it, but I'm going to keep going until I get it. There we go. And you can see how slowly I'm writing. Really zoom in for you now. So that's how it would look. Now let's trace these bits. So the more that we trace, the better we're going to get, the more we're warmed up. Okay, so you can either photocopy this because it's looking pretty smooth, happy with that. Photocopy of it so you've got a good backup. Or we're going to go straight into it now and pray that we don't ruin it. So the paper's obviously twisted around to the left. If you look at some of the videos I've done, I've shown you how to do this. Up, and then pressure release. Up, and then pressure at the bottom. Look, I realised I spelled spring wrong. This is why we always mock it up to begin with. Now, if you're going to flourish, what I'm decided to do is I'm not going to add any pressure. I'm going to go back in afterwards and then apply the pressure. So, here, and here. Up, down, and then apply the pressure along the bottom. Long entrance stroke. Oh, messed that one up, but only practicing. Let's see if we can change that as we go. So nice and warmed up now. Don't forget your thermal dot. Now a couple ways to roll up a piece so you can write it on the card. One of them is you can use a light box. Okay, you can use a light box and put the light box underneath the paper. Put this over the top and the light will show through and you can trace that. Another way is you can draw your guidelines on, so you can use one of these guides. You get plenty of these online. Get this, you get your ruler and a mechanical pencil, and you can then do this and get your guides on, which I think I'm going to do today. So it has to be a mechanical pencil because it makes life a lot easier when you're doing that. And then do your 52-degree angle line here. Okay, and then move this time. Repeat. And then what you want to do is just draw your central line in so you know where the middle of your card is, so you don't end up at a random spot on your paper. Just pop these ones in. Okay, so you want to think about your composition. So I usually have, if I'm not tracing it, I'll have this somewhere in front of me so I can see how I want it to look as a reference point. Composition wise, I want spring in bloom. I know that these two bits are going to be the main sections to write on. So S-P-R-I-N-G, S-P-R-I-N-G. So here we go. B, I know this for me, I always put my B's too far this way, so B-L-O-O. So B, L, O. There we go. Now I've mocked it up, I'm happy that I've got the spelling right. It's centralised. I can then go over it with my nib and ink and trace. Breathe, make sure you got all your positioning correct. Here we go. So this is how it looks now, and then we're going to go back over and just add a little bit of shade on the side. Not too much. I'm going to go, I was going to go to the end, but I think I'll go here. Maybe another one here. So adding a little bit of shade. Don't worry if it doesn't go right, because we can make any changes that we need. Now what I really like is these little tiny dots. What I really like is these little tiny dots on the work. They just make everything look really cute. And now we're going to wait for the ink to dry before we complete our next bit. Once you are completely certain the ink is dry, you can get your eraser and remove any of these lines just very gently. Hold on to the paper securely, because sometimes if you go to the edge and you're too rough, you end up creasing the paper as you're erasing the ink and the lines, and there's nothing worse. I forgot to mention, I'm just using the Manuscript inks. I'm using the Shimmering Ocean Calligraphy ink set. Nice blue ink. It's coming across quite dark on the screen, but it works really well. It's nice thin ink for this kind of script. Let's get rid of all of these little bits of eraser. I'm sure there's a delicate method for doing that, but I'm not very delicate. Here we go. Right, it's looking pretty sweet as it is, but you can add some more things to it. Here's one example. I'll pop this on the screen so you can use that as some inspiration. And here is another example for some more inspiration. And I'm going to use these Aquabrush pens from Manuscript Pen Company. I'm using just a number of colours. If I had pink, I would 100% use pink, but I don't know what's happened to my pink. This is what we're using, the Calligraphy Aquabrush. Green, red, blue, and hopefully you can see that colour, it's a purple. We're going to be very delicate with this, okay? So just a couple little bits here and there. And we're just adding dots. So I'm going to zoom in. And you can see where I'm going to add some dots. So just over here. A couple little lines there. Okay, maybe another one going down this way. Another one here. Okay. Another one here. Maybe just go along the line like this. And then I'm also going to add some green for the base. And maybe I'm going to add a little bit of blue as well. Literally just dotting it in place. Okay, just like that. So these little V shapes, they're going to be our nice flowers. And again, we're going to go around here. And along some of these. Add a little bit of green. I like the blue, it's like a cornflower, it comes out. Add some more along here. I really am going to try to do less is more, but I struggle with this. Okay, so that's just to begin with. How are we going to make these pretty? We're going to get a lovely little brush. Quite a petite brush, a round brush. Get some water in it, not too much. And then we're just going to push the colour out. Okay, you can see how the flower is looking. Get a bit of light on there. There you go. You can see how pretty that is. Zoom in for you. I'll do another one. So try to clean your brush each time and make sure it's not too wet. Really beautiful little florals. There we go, you can see I'm going to start with the purple first and then I'll mix in the green. Similar over here and over here as well. And you can do little echoes, you can pull the colour off of there and just do some little very light lines too. Right, here we go, this is how it's looking. You can leave it like that, or we can start adding some more colour. Ideally this would have been in pink, but I can't find my pink. So the next thing I'm going to do is just add some little dots, little florals around it. Okay, so let's do a little, you can do rose shape, but I'm going to do some of these to begin with. do another one over here, just coming out. Pop this in here. You see it's the tiniest dot. So could do a little bit of purple in there as well, just so they're not so red. Tiny dot. And pour that out, and it creates a really lovely little floral. Make sure that you're cleaning it in between each one. Very subtle, messy florals. Right, and let's do some little flowers now. Now, can you get our red? And do a couple dots. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Over here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I did add, again, a little dot of purple to most of them. Not too much though, because not too much pressure, because it gets quite dark. Right, get the watercolour, get the pencil, the brush nice and wet again. And then just pour that out. Try to think of like a little rose shape, lots of circles. Messy petals, that's what we're going for. Okay. Again, bring some more colour down. Right. And the next thing I'm going to do is just some little embellishments. I'm going to use frosted berry. Just give it a very gentle shake. You don't want too many bubbles in it. You want to mix the metallics up into the pigment. Okay. Make sure your nib is clean. Load up that nib. I'm just going to get rid of any excess ink. You can just do some lines, following it all around. Here we go. Well, if you leave it now, you've got a pretty little card ready to gift somebody for spring. You can also cut it out and frame it. Or you can cut it out and put it into the cards. I've got the lovely little frame that's the perfect size and shape for it. I really hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Obviously, if you like, comment and subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. There's lots of other fantastic tutorials on the Manuscript YouTube page, so I really encourage you to go and have a look.